you've been active in your business world and you're active in the community. When did you realize that integrity is important to you? When was that striking moment in your life?
I can remember, going back to growing up. I mean, I think, it starts at a young age when your parents are a big part of it. I think about my mother and father and, how they handle things in life, how they, took on challenges and, never took the approach of, personal gain over someone else. So, I think that's a big part. I think about, my mom, working and taking the bus to, we didn't have much money. My dad, worked on the assembly line in, building the Saturn 1D boosters and things like that. So, we were, I'd say lower middle class family. And my mom basically worked, and took the bus every day so that they could send my sister and myself to good schools, and through that process, we were exposed to, good values. I attribute a lot, not just to my parents, but the school I went to, the high school, which was a Catholic all boys high school, which instilled a lot of strong values. But, and I think about different things, my dad's experience, when he, the space program wound down, he ended up moving to keep his job with the same company and was working in a tank plant building Army tanks. And, in the space program, everything was about safety, safety, safety. And then, they're in this environment, he's the final inspector at that point for the tanks going out. And, the production timeline, they're trying to meet goals and objectives, and they're trying to push to get equipment out. And, he pushed back and said, no tank goes out of here without me envisioning my son being in this tank, because it is somebody's son that's in that tank. And if something fails in the field, well, you're not going to know, just like, a rocket blows up, there's a whole forensic tank fails in the field, lose lives, injure, without, ever knowing what the source of it was. But, his convictions were, of that, it didn't matter, what anybody thought, the boss or anybody else. I'm going to do what's right, and that's the way my parents were my whole life, just, always helping in the community. I remember one time there was a family that was living in deplorable conditions. And, they worked with some other folks to find a place for them to live and fix it all up for them and get them into, nicer living conditions. And it's just, my whole life was that way. And then I was blessed, to meet my wife, now wife. And she, her family, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, of the same cloth. They, believed in giving back to the community. My father-in-law was a World War II veteran that, had nothing growing up and, went to war and came back and went to college and made something of himself. And, my mother-in-law, we tease her all the time of being the rule follower, no matter what, she's going to follow every little rule. So, it's it basically comes from those things. And then I was, of course, when I started work, we had to, both my wife and I worked and went to school at night, right? So we couldn't afford to just go off to college like, most people. And the first place, I got real opportunity was a startup company after, some folks I met at Amoco when I was working there. And, my, boss there, one of the owners, Richard Zoll, he was, a big part of adding on to, my, growth as, integrity and honesty and doing the right thing, no matter what personal cost it might be. So I've been blessed to have all those people in my life.